Welcome to part 2 on perception. Thanks for sticking around and clicking again. So let's get started. When we talk about perception, there's a lot of things in our mind that helps us form our perception and know what's going on. And those three we want to talk about right now are concept, self-esteem, and self-efficacy. Self-efficacy. Starting with self-confidence. That's something, the concept you have of yourself happens by actions and thoughts. Thoughts are put into you by other people and things that also come from your own mind. The actions meaning how you completed something, how soon you completed it, of course your abilities and the values instilled to you by those people around you. Your self-concept influences how you interact with the world. If you think yourself shy, or let me think here. If you think yourself as not good at something and you get put in that position, you're going to think different and act different because of it. If you get asked to do a math problem on the board when you're in elementary school and your self-concept is bad at math, well, then that's going to happen. If your interactions with a girl or a guy is not there, your concept of yourself is shy or awkward, well, then that's how you're going to react and your perception is going to be. So you're going to show that when it says direct and indirect evidence with your communication skills, your body language, the tone of voice, how quickly you speak, and things like that. You're also going to build your self-concept by comparing it to other people, how you see them doing it and how you do it, and it's going to make a difference. Unfortunately, most of the time we judge ourselves off of a social comparison to other people, and that's how we build our perception. Am I as good as? Am I better than? Can I hang with this? That social comparison is deadly to us all. Self-esteem, we've heard this term a lot. We've thought about it a lot, and we pretty much know what it is, how you think about yourself. The one point that I want to make about it is your self-esteem could be high in one area but not another. Your academic self-esteem may be huge, or just in your comm classes, not in your philosophy classes. Your self-esteem may be great about sports and your athletics, but not so much about your academics. Your self-esteem may be great regarding intermingling in social groups large and small. So this is linked, as it says, to your self-concept. As the better you know yourself, the more self-esteem you're going to get out of it, or vice versa. Once you have your self-concept, you're going to think differently. Your self-concept is always evolving and changing as more stimuli comes in, and it directly reflects to your self-esteem. These three terms, self-concept, self-esteem, and self-efficacy, are something you'd want to know for a test or something like that. Hint, hint. So self-efficacy. Efficacy is something like grit or determination. When you have a high self-efficacy, you're going to be able to, of course, predict your own success, knowing what's going to happen. You know if you're going to be able to stick with it. If you start a new exercise regimen, or you sit down to do a paper that you have for another class and it's 5 or 6 or 7 pages, you know with your self-efficacy if you're going to be able to push through that and get it done. If you have a lower self-efficacy, you probably would wander a little bit. Whenever you, as it says here, cope with failure or success, your self-efficacy is going to determine that, how well you succeed. If you have a high self-efficacy and you could push through, your success is going to be there. If you have a lower, less determination, that's going to make a difference. If you have an inaccurate self-efficacy, it's going to be self-fulfilling prophecies. And what those are is you're going to think something's going to happen, it's going to happen. Like, I'm going to do great on this test because I studied hard. You're going to fulfill that prophecy. If you think that you're not going to do very good, then it's going to turn your perceptions and then your actions into performance that isn't very good. 3 more terms: actualization, adequacy, and self-degeneration. We'll go over those each one by one. Let me get that cursor arrow out of the way. There we go. Self-actualization. That's a mouthful, isn't it? When you negotiate a communication situation, when you walk into a room and you hear people talking and you figure out who's the dominant, who's speaking at the moment, you're able to be in the moment, be socially aware. You're taking into action what's going on there. Actualization as a verb of action. How does that sound? As you're there, you are being in the moment. You are taking in what other people are doing, not just the speaker, but how he's being understood, how he's being perceived, what people are paying attention to him, and who is drifting off. This is really important when I'm lecturing in front of a class, because I need to know what's going around and negotiate those communication interactions between me and the class, and know who I need to center on, or as feedback comes in, what points I need to accent or clarify a little bit. The more aware you are of your surroundings and the more you're in the moment, the more you have self-actualization, the more understood, comfortable, and fulfilled you would be. You understand what's going on, you're comfortable in the moment, you know what to react to and don't. It just brings a calmness because you know what's going around you. Or it gives you a reassurance when you should bail and get out, and you feel comfortable about that you left because you knew it was because of a good idea, a good reasoning. Let's go on to self-adequacy. It's pretty much the same thing, but at a different level. You're okay with it. You figure out what's going on around you, but you don't see those minute details. You can't see the ripple through the crowd and the different dynamics of it. You're able to concentrate on a couple of things, but you can't do that multi-layer thing that's going on around you. Hopefully that leads you to a self-improvement where you're able to be more in the moment, pay more attention to what's going on around you, so you could take up those subtle actions or even inactions that's happening. Adequacy, being adequate at it. And let's go to the last one, self-degeneration. Whenever you go into communication experience and you stumble or mumble, or you don't listen carefully enough to understand what they said, the communication experience is going to be negative. Sometimes when there's a lot of stress going on, when you don't understand the importance of it, and you don't even try to improve, you don't put down your phone, so you stop text messaging, it's going to change that communication experience. It's going to degenerate yourself and your communication abilities, changing your self-concept. All these things are intertwined just a bit. Now this is good stuff. Self-presentation. Think about how you dress when you go meet your in-laws for the first time, or how you dress on a job interview. Even better, think about how you pose for a picture you're going to put on Facebook. What are you going to show? How are you going to present yourself? What are you going to wear? Are you going to be caught dead in a New England Patriots jersey? I hope not. So the way you present yourself is different. Various channels too. Like I said, Facebook, your picture there, job interview, in person. Moment to moment, how you adjust this, how you pay attention to it is self-monitoring. Whenever I go and I have my classroom behind me, so when I teach English or I do these lectures, I kind of take a look around, make sure there's no McDonald's cups in the background to try to monitor my presentation I make to you. Maybe I should put on a tuxedo or a button-up shirt once in a while, but it is what it is, huh? Not a good philosophy to have. You want to do your best self-presentation. So let me tell you how this is multi-layered in communication interactions. It's not always just what you wear, but it's where you can be seen. If I'm interested in, excuse me, having a date with somebody and I have one of my friends going to set me up, I do not want to meet them at McDonald's or at a buffet where everybody's, hogging out, feeding their face. Not a really great self-presentation. I want to be somewhere where I'm doing something that I'm good at, something that I enjoy, so my light will shine, so my charisma will be there. I don't want to see them in a bad place. So your element, your location, your activity is going to make a big difference on your self-presentation. When I've applied for teaching jobs, I've taken videos of me in a classroom to show how those things interact. And I've used that as part of my resume to show how things are in that element. Self-presentation. Self-disclosure is also pretty cool. What are you going to tell about and who you're going to tell it to. There's a social exchange or information exchange theory to where when you get to know somebody or you have somebody you're hoping to be a significant other, how you tell a little bit about yourself and then you see if they reciprocate and tell a little bit about them. You ask them questions and you see if they answer it with a lot of information or just yes, no. And as you get more comfortable with sharing them, becoming vulnerable, they do the same to you. It makes you even more comfortable, and that relationship deepens, strengthens. Sometimes, though, some of us get a little bit sneaky, and you meet somebody, and so you may say something like, I took somebody's lunch out of the fridge at work, and I hope they don't find out. Then you wait and see if they snitch you off. They eat a bunch of cheese like a big rat, and you know if they can trust you, if they got your back or not. Sometimes self-disclosure comes in different ways, sneaky or legit. One other thing, I want to make sure I'm not going ahead of myself. Nope. Self-disclosure, and this is better when I got a whiteboard. Ooh, I do have a whiteboard, but I'm not going to use it right now. Oh, let me pause this real quick. You guys can still hear me. Sorry about the delay. Let me find a marker here that works pretty good. There we go. And now how do I start this again? I don't think it paused. So let's keep rolling. That was a 2-minute break. Let's say this is self-disclosure. Let's get this so you can see it. And here's a circle. Oh, this may be crashing and burning. But you have a circle and circle and circle. Here, oh, there we go. As you self-disclose here, in this area, the other person's going to go here, and here, and here, and eventually all the way in. But I say that we all have our innermost secrets that we don't tell anybody. Things that have happened, things that we just do not share. But now this is the trick. This is what I wanted to show you. This is why the whiteboard's so important. As we self-disclose, we have different friends. And let's say this is the mom, and this is your BFF, and this is your spouse or significant other. Okay? And then we'll have other friend number 2, friend number 3, and friend number 4. What I wanted to show you is, I think this is working. Different people you share different things with. Your spouse may know all about your work and all about your kids, but your mom you'll tell about your work, but only half about your kids because she's a judgmental type of person, right? Your best friend knows everything about you except for those dark secrets that you don't tell anybody, right? Now, this is the key. Social scientists say that men need 3 friends only. One they can burp in front of and fart, sorry for being graphic. One that will cuddle with them, sex, and one that will feed them. Men need 3 friends. But women need 6 friends, sometimes even 8. One they can, now this is being sexist, one they can shop with. One that they can complain about their kids with. One they can brag about their husband with. They are so deep emotionally that they would have many, many circles where men would only have a couple, then they would split into a lot of friends. So as we talk about self-disclosure, and I find the lid to my pen, it's really important that as you reveal yourself to people, that you know who you can reveal what to. And with this age of very fluid feminine masculinity lines, I remember when they first came out with the metrosexual term for a man, somebody that's more in touch with their feelings. And I have always been a little bit more touchy-feeling or feminine than most of my friends. I don't like admitting it, though. So I know that I need more than 3 friends to relate to. Even on academic level, there's people that I talk to about that. There's people I talk to when I play disc golf. And it's a completely different level. And I have those friends that slowly we self-disclose and get to know each other more. But on each level, there's an appropriate level of self-disclosure. When I'm playing sports, disc golf, that's sports to me, there's things I'll disclose that I wouldn't disclose when I was doing academics, because I want those people to think differently of me. My self-presentation hinges a lot on my self-disclosure. Cool? The last thing down here, sharing must be voluntary. I teach another class and I talk about the way people influence or persuade is by begging, bribing, or beating. Beg them, bribe them, or beat them. If somebody gives you an ultimatum, or else, tell me or else, that is forcing you to self-disclose. Not a good thing. I got one hint for you. Lie. Sometimes a little lie is good for the soul. Most of the time not. So I'm just regretting that I said lie, but I'm not editing this, so let's keep going on. So, tell me that I'm paused right now. Okay, there we go. Dodge that bullet. So the feedback loop, managing our identities. When we do a behavior, it starts with the cognition, our self-concept, esteem, or self-efficacy. Depending on the event, where we're at, what we're doing, it's going to come from our mind, how we're going to act, how we're going to present ourselves, what we're going to talk about. The way we talk about it, the way our communication event happens has everything to do with what's in our mind. Then as we perform that event, we get feedback from people, how they interact with us, if they're going to continue self-disclosing as we are, if they're going to self-disclose through verbal language or body language. Then we assess that as we perceive them, and we understand, we put it into our own schemas of what's going on, and then we go through the actualization, adequacy, and degeneration. Actualization would hopefully be the best, where you're in the moment, fully in the moment, and you're able to read all those little subtle clues. If somebody's giving you negative feedback, you're kind of able to understand, well, we're talking about this at the end of the day. They're probably tired, got things on their mind, and it's not about me. Or self-adequacy would tell you in that moment that, well, gee, this isn't going very good, but my self-esteem would say it's okay. So that's the loop of managing our identities, what we think, how we behave, and how we assess that. Knowing about perception, assessment, and understanding makes a huge difference on our self-esteem. I can tell you, as I got older, more culturally aware, as I became to be in the moment instead of into myself and my own presentation and what I thought, my self-esteem grew, because I realized that most of the time it's not about me. And most of the time when people react, it's not about how they're reacting about me, it's how they are reacting because what's inside their head, not because what I said or what I did, how great I am, how handsome I am. It doesn't impact them as much as I think it did in my head when I was younger, for what that's worth. Let's keep going now. Technology, oh boy, I have mixed feelings about this. You can control your self-presentation on technology. Facebook, what pictures you say, what you post. You get to know a lot about people by what they post on Facebook. My little brother and I are pretty close, good friends, but some of the things he posts on Facebook I'd never like, and I just blow through the stuff that he sends me on instant message about sports. I'm just not into it as much as he is. But that presentation he puts out there is a lot different than what he does me. Let me pause this for a second and let you talk to you about managing yourself and your self-presentations. I believe in a multiple hat theory, and we have several different hats we wear. Some of those hats are, I'm going to minimize this while I chat. Some of those hats, I'm going to minimize this too, and you can see my great screensaver. Some of those hats are professional, like what you wear to work, if you wear a button-up shirt, or some of them are uniform. Some of those hats are academic. Some of those hats are the way you act in front of your family, your in-laws. Some of them are when you wear no hat and you just let it all loose. Walk around the house in your underwear where nobody can see you and drink out of a gallon jug of milk. Not that I do that, but I've heard stories, right? We all wear different hats. And at certain places, we have to put on a different hat so that we can present a different way that group needs us to present. I think I said that right. On occasion, we're able to wear the hat we want. We reach a point where we have emotional intelligence, which is a term and a philosophy that's only came up in the last 5-6 years, that we're able to know what hat to wear when, and if we're able to take off a hat and put on a separate hat in a certain situation, having that self-actualization and knowing what you can get away with, what you can do. It takes a lot of communication skill to learn that emotional intelligence, to know just what hat to wear and where to wear it, where you should wear it. You have different identities, and that's important. The more identities you have, the more ways you can act, the more roles you can play, the more socially fluid you can be to be in different situations, feel comfortable, and interact. Some situations you're going to get in are going to require a hat that you're not used to wearing or don't even have. And with that experience to that culture, that environment, you're going to find out what hat you need. My hope is that you already have a couple hats. Even a greater hope is that you understand what I'm saying here, and that you'll learn to identify the hats you need to hang where you want to hang out and feel comfortable. And one last hope, maybe the greatest of all, is I hope a lot that nobody makes you put on a hat, that nobody forces you to be somebody that you're not. Granted, you're going to have to wear that uniform and flip those burgers and boil those fries sometime in your life at McDonald's or something close to it. But you're wearing that hat to get to a different hat. Granted, sometimes you're going to have to play the game for a while, but that's easy when you see that end and how long that game's going to play. And sometimes because of life, you're stuck with a hat, but you're able to make the best of it. But not a hat that degrades you or physically hurts you or mentally exhausts you. I hope that you never have to wear those hats. But you have party hats and baseball hats and hats like that. Enough being serious, right? Let's get back to the lecture. Okay, when you're online, you can pick those hats. You can control that self-presentation and let people know what you're like. In the book Modern Romance that I was telling you about, one of the #1 things that turn off women to men is when they don't text with proper spelling or punctuation. A lot more important to women than men about having proper punctuation, Technology, you could actually decide and make a choice what you're going to show, because you have that delay where they're not going to see you with your body language. You can actually choose what they see. Now, the problem with that is the next line: others will create perception about you depending on what you reveal, how long it takes you to text back, the background of that picture, why you posted that picture then, the subtle clues they get of timing, background, things like that are going to are going to influence their perception. One other thing, and this is really important, I was talking to my daughter the other day, and she's 25, 26, 27, I think. Her birthday's coming up. I'd have to do the math. She was born in 1990, if you want to do the math for me. Anyway, I was talking to her and making sure I knew the difference between Facebook, Instant Messenger, Skype, Tinder, Bumble, Instagram, and Snapchat. I think those are all of them. And if I remember right, she said she has 3 different Instagram accounts. She works out a lot and into vegan crap and protein shakes and stuff. And she says she has an Instagram for that part of her life. Then she has Instagram when she's dating, that she's able to put stuff up there to show guys or whatever, to put that presentation of herself out there that would be, to me, drama queen. And she has another one, I can't remember what it is. But technology allows us to put different identities out there and experiment how people react to them, what crowds we'd want to be in. If that hat is comfortable in that crowd, we could try on those different hats. That's one thing I really like about technology, is you can do that. Unfortunately, from my understanding with my conversation with the daughter, between Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff, a lot of those are getting overlapped as multiple conglomerates come in and gobble everything up, that one parent owns all those things and it's too easy to track you down. So technology, self-presentation, and the perceptions that you are able to place out there for what other people see. Remember that, one more small group of slides just for fun. Remember that you can do all the self-presentation you want, and you can do everything you can to influence their perception, but they still own the schemas in their mind. It's their memories and their culture that's going to ultimately decide what they understand from you. The better you are at communicating, the more, I don't like control, the more influence you have on their perception. The more you have that self-actualization, or in the moment, can read their body language and the understanding that comes to their face and their mind, the more you can influence that perception, that you would have some type of Vulcan mind melt meeting the minds where you know you're understood. When we talk more about interpersonal relationships, I'll tell you some of the ways that I ensure that my message that I try to convey is what they understood, or as close as we can get to that. Bottom line is, you cannot control somebody else's perception. You're doing good if you have a high level of influence, or understanding is even a better word. Cool? All right, just a couple more things here. We'll blow through these. You have a different point, a specific point of view, your schemas of when you look at something, what does that mean? Is it like cool, or like, what the heck is that? That type of thing. Some of these pictures you may have seen before. You may get that there's a theme running through it, which there is a theme. But what I want you to do is not turn yourself off because you see that theme, but understand the hat theory. I told my son whenever he was moving to Tennessee, it was my stepson, and he got out of jail, and he was on parole, and things just weren't going right for him. So I talked to his parole officer and said, I'm going to move him to Tennessee, away from all of his hoodlum friends. And he was 27 at the time, to live with his sister, where he'd know nobody with a bad reputation, and his sister and her husband were in the military, so good role models and stuff. The parole officer said, cool, and we got him out there. And I said, before you go, you need to realize that if you go out there with a wife beater, tank top, t-shirt, and a leather jacket, and your wallet with the chain hanging down and stuff like that, and looking like a punk biker, you're going to be treated like that. I know that you have different hats, and those are the hats you need to wear, no matter what they know about you. I know that he had different hats, even though he was the same person. The common theme through here may be the same person. But look at the different hats, and how, just like with my son, how would you react to a person with that hat on? Your culture, the culture they're depicting, what your thought processes are. With President Trump's current problems that he's causing with immigration, this definitely, with my culture, brings certain things to my mind. I'm not a terrorist. I'm an IT guy. I don't drain the economy. I'm a professional, make money. I'm not a threat. I'm not a stranger. I'm a father and a son. I'm a seeker of freedom. I'm not illegal. Perception. The current political climate influences our perception. Unless you never look at politics and your Facebook feed is full of The Onion and stuff like that. What was your first thought? Is that socially acceptable to you? You may be noticing a common theme now. Different hats that somebody wears, different hats they wear throughout their career or throughout their life. how we are going to change. And when you saw those images, somebody getting arrested, a snot-nosed rich kid getting arrested and thrown in jail, did you say, good, they deserve it? Or did you say, I just know that guy, no worries? How we perceive the situations around us make who we are, because those influences, those judgments we make, that information that goes into our brain that comes out through our consciousness, we can't help it. My theory in life is you can't walk through a mud puddle without getting muddy. I told you that earlier. And as you do this, the things that happen to you is going to change your perception for the good, for the not so good, and for the worst. Be mindful. Be thoughtful to other people's perceptions. Live long and prosper. That's it.